Hello everyone, this is Mohammed from Python Ninja YouTube channel, and today we will learn together how can we integrate while loop with the exception handling in Python. So today we have a pretty small exercise that we want to practice together. We will write a Python code that uses while loop, and we learn how can we use while loop together. And this while loop will prompt the user to only enter integers. Okay, and we also learn together how can I cast any variable into integers. Okay, now if the user will press any key other than the integer, okay, from the keyboard, then exception will be done. What is the exception handling first? Okay, the exception handling, if you go, for example, write, for example, name equal Muhammad, okay, like this, and you run the code. Okay. Now you will notice that here there is error, and this is like name error because the name of the variable doesn't exist, or the variable not defined yet. Okay, so this is like syntax or like name error or what, or sometimes type error or module not found error. There are a set of errors. I promise that I will give you a very comprehensive tutorial about this type of errors and the exception handling in Python, but not now. We will go to that after introducing the reminder data structure like list, dictionaries, tuples, and after introducing also functions, then we will go for errors and such type of advanced or semi-advanced or middle level topics in Python. But now for while loop, we will notice that we use the exception handling. So if the program like contain multi-line, for example, now I have another line that will, for example, it will add a plus b, and I have a, and I have already a equal 10 and b equal 20, and I run the code, I still have the error because the execution in Python started from top and go to the bottom. So this line okay, this line okay, it reached here. When it reached to a line where there is an error or expected error, the execution is interrupted and terminated. Okay, now we need to add something that to override this error and execute the next line. This is the intuition behind the exception handling. I do not need to describe it more. Later deliver. You will be delivered like the right material to learn exception handling. But for this application, because I want to have like a small demo that will accept only integers, we will use exception handling just to print a hint to the user, because the user will feel unhappy if he will see this like red message or this warning. Now we use like this syntax. Keep it at your hand. We use try except. Before going to this try except, let us go through the code. Write a Python code that use while loop to prompt the user to enter integers. So the first thing I will use while true, okay, because we need the status to be true, or the conditional state here to be to an infinity true. Now I can say the number equal, because the user will only enter integers, so I want to cast the input into integers. Okay, so from here we understand why I use integers and why I casted this input into integers. Okay, enter for example the number, please. Okay, and we usually keep space just to make it more fancy. Now let us execute this line of code. So now we have the ability to enter integer, and I can enter any integers to like infinite execution. Now if I press, for example, in a letter T, I press enter, then I will have an error stating that there is value error. Okay, Okay, now because why there is value error? Because I typed a string and T letter is a string, but the only allowed thing here is to enter integer. Okay, so what I can do to at least not notice this error, or I see like a designed message when I use this demo. I use this reserved word in Python. Try, keep it at your mind, and then we do like spacing here. We use an indent space. Then in the same line, okay, so we have here we have to inject except, and this in the same level. It should be in the same level, okay, of try. Okay, so we have this template, we have a try, then we will have except. Okay, and in between our code, why we use them, try and except, we use them to design our own message, okay, instead of this one, and make the ability to the code to execute the reminder lines. We will learn together later when I use, for example, finally reserved word, the code will continue execution, even the exception. So I can say that exception as if. Now keep it at your mind as if. Later you will know that, or you will learn that instead of using exception here, we can use, for example, except value error itself. But here in general, I use except exception. And exception, it comes from like a class in Python that contains all of these errors. Okay, if the program will face this exception, what shall the program do? It will show a message to me, and this message is like designed by myself. So what the message that I want to design, for example, the string, okay, is not allowed, okay, is not or not accessible or acceptable like this. Okay, you can design anything. Instead of acceptable, you can say it's not allowed, for example, or is working here. Let us run this. So I enter integer, another integer, it will go to an infinite number of integers. But if I press, for example, R, it will show me that there is exception here and the string is not allowed. And as we can notice that the red error, or the red error message has crossed out away. And now we learn by this small exercise that we can integrate exception handling with while loop. The exception handling would be described later, but why I highlighted this now, because it is in the same line where while loop is applied. Just take like a general small idea, then the next in next tutorials this idea will be more and more clear. Keep this template at your brain. We use a try and we use except, then we use exception as in. Okay, then we can print this one. Okay, that's for today's tutorial. Guys, see you next tutorial, and we will speak more about for loop and how can we can integrate it for loop into our code.